We've already seen the revealed Berserker class, which mixes freezing enemies and shattering them under massive melee attacks, and the Stabbomancer, which focuses around sneaky, stabby, critical hit action with everything sharp. But now look at the two, in my opinion, much more exciting classes, the Clawbringer and the Spellshot. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is Gearbox's take on a fantasy game, adding high-powered randomly generated weaponry with high-powered randomly generated spells, gear, and melee weapons. In this video, I'll be running through the latest information, including the newly revealed classes, damage types, characters, wards, spells, and more. Let's start with my favorite looking class so far, the Clawbringer. The Clawbringer are an order of warriors who seek to bring heroism to Wonderlands through fire and thunder. But most importantly, they're named after the dragon blood in their veins, and therefore absolutely had to get a dragon companion. Oh yes, you heard right. Well, the trailer says dragon and the official text says wyvern, but either way, it flies by their side, breathing fire upon their enemies and raking them with razor-sharp claws. So having a pet dragon is one thing, but what else can they do? Well, they specialize in fire and lightning, able to give the whole party buffs with auras like Dragon Aura, which gives everyone a boost to fire damage. Right now we've seen two of their skills, both involving the Spectral Hammer. The first, called Cleansing Flames, slams it down on the ground in front of them, causing a satisfying explosion and donk sound. Just listen. The next is Storm Dragon's Judgment, which adds the ability to become Thor to the game. Throwing the hammer out, hitting its target with a lightning nova, then activating again to recall the hammer back to your hand. We can see that it does damage on the way to its target, at its destination, and on the way back. The fourth class revealed is the Spellshot, and like the name suggests, they're all about spells and shooting things. While others may view their guns as mere weapons, the Spellshot has trained vigorously until it becomes an extension of their own magical will, weaving gun and grimoire together to enhance their spells and imbue their weapons. But what does that mean for you? Well, Spellshots are able to equip 2 spells, meaning that you can cast more often and combine spells together for different effects. Their spell weaving ability increases spell damage and fire rate as they cast spells or reload, allowing them to seamlessly cycle between different methods of dealing damage, from shootsing to zapsing and back again. When enemies get too overwhelming, one of their revealed skills, Polymorph, can take an enemy out of the fight by transforming them into a harmless skeep. An effective crowd control. It seems like the Ambihextrous, the aforementioned ability to have 2 spells equipped at once, will use your ability slot. So you're giving up an ability like Polymorph in order to dual wield spells. Nothing really comes for free. So those were the 2 newly revealed classes in Wonderland. Just a quick rundown of the other 2. The first revealed was Stabbomancer, which focuses around sharp pointy things. Damage wise, he's your sneaky rogue, all about critical hits and status effects. They alternate between guns, melee, weapons and spells, all the while moving in and out of stealth to score guaranteed critical hits and summoning ethereal psychic ghost swords. Then we have the Berserker, who is much more straightforward, melee and frost damage. They can become enraged via their action skills, channel the power of frost through their weaponry so that they can freeze and shatter their enemies, and manifest an arsenal of raw destructive force. Berserkers can also leech life from fallen foes, plus whirlwind their enemies. So total, we have a fighter, a berserker, a rogue, and a wizard class. Let me know below what you think they'll reveal next. One thing to note is all classes can use guns in one way or another. I'm sure that some meta builds will have you focusing on melee or spells, but firearms are your primary way of dealing damage to the many monsters you'll encounter in the Wonderlands. Because we're playing by Tiny Tina's rules and she wants bullets flowing freely across the battlefield. We have a pretty extensive gestalt system where the gun pieces mix and match with each other, says Asia Hawkins, lead weapons artist on Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. We want to emphasize big reads and try to include a mix of realism and stylization. We make sure we have a good silhouette, then go from there. We don't usually say this is too over the top, especially in this universe. The more over the top, the better. One particular firearm that's a favorite among the developers is something embodying the chaotic fantasy of Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, the crossbow attachment for pistols, assault rifles, and sniper rifles. Who cares about practicality when you can affix an arrow launching contraption onto your big old blaster? When things don't quite make physical sense, we like to say, it's magic. Asia laughs. That works for this game because it's all about magic. So higher rarity weapons will have different damage types as well. In Wonderlands there are 5 elemental types: fire, frost, lightning, poison, and dark magic. When squaring off against an enemy, take stock of what color their health bar is. This will indicate what elemental damage works best against them. Fire burns flesh, red health bars to a crisp. Lightning zaps away wards, blue. Poison seeps through armor, yellow. Frost chills bone, white to the, well, bone. Sustained frost damage also has the added effect of slowing your enemies and eventually freezing them solid into giant ice cubes, which just so happens to take triple the amount of melee damage. So you can see how the Berserker will combo with itself. Finally, dark magic siphons your enemy's vitality, sending it straight to your health bar. These life-stealing properties can keep you going through prolonged battles, provided your dark magic is hitting the mark. All 5 elemental damage types also deal some damage over time, which can be a huge boon when fighting big bad bosses or tough underlings. So guns, spells, melee weapons all get the glory during combat, but your loadout of wearable gear has a huge impact on your character's strength and utility. Wards are crucial to your survivability thanks to their shielding magic, with a wide assortment of bonus effects, and accessorizing with rings and amulets will further boost your desired stats. Yes, stats are in the game. Wards in particular are really cool, and a lot of work went into those, says Asia. There are 5 different kinds of design themes to wards. Some of them are more hard surfacey, some of them are more organic. They will all have a general theme, accentuated by stat boosts that go with the theme. Some look like the Necronomicon with a creepy mix of skin and bone, others have more of a steampunk vibe with gears and copper and springs and all that. You can see the inner workings of some of them. Some follow a poisonous plant type vibe, mushrooms and vines and gross toxic stuff. So wards in Wonderlands, which were shield mods in Borderlands, take more damage depending on the rarity, but are produced by 3 distinct manufacturers: Ashen, Pangoblin, and Hyperius. Ashen wards are quick to recharge but have a lower capacity. Pangoblin wards are the opposite, with a higher capacity but lower recharge rate, and the Hyperius wards offer bonuses when your shields are high, like a shock damage when you're hit or an empowered first gun shot. So we've talked about interesting guns and items, but what about spells? The effects that we do go through many iterations. Very rarely will you see something on screen that was just made once, says Ashley Leons, lead FX artist on Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Being able to hit that wow factor of I want to throw this out and it's going to be very cool every time I see it, that awesome spell probably went through 4 or 5 different rounds of feedback from the entire team. Spell effects also have to be designed with co-op in mind. When we're creating spells and effects, we want to go all out and we want to throw as much cool stuff as we can into that one spell, says Ashley. From a technical perspective, now that so many things are magic based, we can incorporate more of those cool noises and vector fields in our particle systems that we didn't get to use as much in the past. Using all those GPU sprites help give a wild look to all the spells. Once we get that initial look, we might pull back visually just a tad bit so you don't have 4 people doing the same thing and end up looking like visual vomit all over the place, so to speak. So you got to find the balance of, does this look cool versus will it play? So we've seen a few of the classes. What about some of the characters in the game, your table mates? Well, according to Gearbox, Bunkers and Badasses is not meant to be a one-on-one affair. After all, quests really come alive when you've got a group of adventurers with their own aspirations and attitudes that can sometimes be at complete odds with one another. In Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, you've got 2 such table mates eager to give you their side, Valentine and Fred, 2 shipwrecked travelers who leapt at the chance to join Tina's unpredictable campaign. Tina is omnipresent, says Sam Wrinkler, lead writer on Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. She's everywhere in the game with everything you do. It's implied that she's helping you along or responsible for what's happening. And we understood that if it was just you and her, it might get a little stale. So to embolden you on your adventure, Valentine and Fred are right there reacting to whatever Tina's thrown at you this time, and they've typically got a wildly differing opinion on what's the best course of action. Sam continues, Fred and Valentine are not your masters. They're not making you do anything. Ultimately, you are the fate maker. You're the one who makes the choices. Fred and Valentine might have ideas, they might have nudging suggestions at times, they might even approve or disapprove of what you're doing. We wanted to use them as sources of levity and as ways to address these different dynamics between the players and each other, and the players and the Game Master, and just generally try to provide people with as much running commentary as possible. But what about the Dragon Lord? Well, the Dragon Lord is a lot of different things, says Sam. At first, he feels like the world's most generic villain, which is the reason why he's even called the Dragon Lord. It sounds like something from a random name generator. But as you play through the story, we want to peel back how he became that way and why Tina would have designed him that way. So Tiny Tina's Wonderlands launches on March 25th, 2022, and I'm excited to jump in and experience the wonder. Let me know below what you think and do the standard YouTube stuff, it really helps me out. I'll be covering the game as well as other AAA RPGs, so for everything you need, keep it here. Ciao friends.